Upstream are the cenotaphs of past kings in this area. This is the primary bridge for getting across the river in this area, I believe. There, the end of the palace. And I think what I'll do is walk one way or another on this other side of this bridge that you see here. If I can twist my body. Here you can see from what once was an original or early bridge that had these stones with the holes in it. Here you can see how its modern equivalent. Got all of the safety features of a Orchha bridge, of course. There, as the girls from Korea told me yesterday, inundated with monkeys. And we see them running about. You may think they're cute, but packs of anything aren't cute. They're dangerous. Dangerous from bites, stealing stuff. Can't tell whether all this is fenced off or not. Now have my 50 rupee ticket to the wildlife sanctuary at Orchha, and we will go down along the river, although we can come back and walk through that area, so might do that a little bit later on. Guesses I will have this entire sanctuary to myself. Monkeys. I don't care if there's anybody here or not. If the country of India protects these places, for as long as they do it, the greater the probability is the future will enjoy these. There's been a strong attempt to make things neat, as well as those cute little trash receptacles. Here an attempt to make it seem like wildlife with the faux cement, bamboo, and wood banister. Before I came in here, a truck with food went by. I'm guessing it goes by regularly because the men howled and threw some stuff off, which I assume was food. And man, there was a rabid rush in which the big guy got most of it and everybody else scrambled away from his anger. There through the trees, that great palace we were at yesterday, the big temple, and here the cenotaphs. Water is such a wonderful pacifier for the human psyche. It would be fun to kayak in a place like this if I were here for a long time. Love butterflies. You can imagine in the monsoon season this river swells and probably comes right up through this area here. And here's some snails. This is interesting. Granite rock. Weathered, heavily weathered over time. Interesting, these shells seem like the shells you see at a seashore. You take what beauty you can find. I was wondering what kind of wildlife might be protected in this wildlife preserve. And then it occurred to me I will probably encounter the only lion or the only tiger that's been known to be in this area in 100 years. And he's hungry. Very hungry. Notice how this tree grasps this rock on the top, on the left side, and on the bottom. And this tree's strategy of outriggers to the left, as well as coming towards us, but at the same time grasp onto that big boulder. You wonder what causes these large bowls. Here the preserve ends, legally probably, and in fact because that fence is broken through and roughly blocked by trees to keep the cows out, but it doesn't. I'm now on the other side of the road, but I had to talk the guard lady into letting me come through the gate that was wide open. She wanted me to walk a kilometer down the road and go in another gate. I said, this one's already open. But anyway, after she saw my ticket and then realized the man had put the wrong date, she changed that. Said, okay, go ahead. So now we're in here. This is very interesting as a forest, because I think you have to call it a forest. But yet the ground is so bare of anything but these dried out twigs. I'm sure that when the rains come, it comes alive a bit. But still, it's not much. If you look closely, you'll see a herd of beautiful birds. I wonder what these rocks are in a line for. Something that's a preserve, you have no idea what its heritage is. I wonder what these holes are for. If it was Vietnam, I'd know. I've never walked in a forest quite like this before. I'm just wandering uphill and directly away from the road so I can go downhill and not hear or see anything. That looks like a not so very high check dam or a possible bridge. I wonder what this is the cause of. Was it just a source of dirt or something at some point? There's another hole up on top of this rise. And another. So I'm at the top of this knoll, and now we'll continue on down. Here we've got quite a bit of rock work done. If these are check dams, they're kind of strange. This one, I guess, would work, but a lot of effort for what could be a little trickle. And there, it doesn't even look like it's completed across the entire swale. Also, it doesn't look like it's capable of stopping much. And these seem to have no value at all. Wonder what it all was for. I'm looking closely at these trees. I don't know whether this is some kind of, what kind of an incrustation it is. You can see it is, whether it's dirt or something. I don't think so. We're at the top of a promontory, and all the trees appear to be covered with it. I saw some villagers yesterday working closely on a trunk of a tree. I couldn't see it clearly, but they were scraping something off. Perhaps that's what this is. It almost looks like some kind of deposit that would be left by something like ants. I'll pull it off and you can see it. See, it just crumbles in my hand like dirt. And interestingly enough, has the same color as the dirt. There's another one of those curious berms. Another one over there. Now notice here on the ground are some structures that are made of the same stuff. They're hollow. I assume the same creature made them, whether it's a worm or ant. They remind me of the little pathways that you see under the snow that are sometimes made of dirt by mice in the wintertime. Could these be made when the rains have made this a very muddy terrain? Fairly large structure. Indeed, a strange landscape. Is it possible when the rains come, they so inundate the ground that ants or whatever this critter is that makes this stuff just moves up onto these trees higher and higher, perhaps creating these, but these don't look like they have space underneath them. So curious. Now here's a real swale that actually looks like it once was a road. You can see it there. And here they've also constructed some check dams, which seems to be somewhat logical. Although it's quite a bit of work for what it would appear to be achieving. But then I don't know how intense those rains are here. Look at that way up high there. It is. And here, not only are there those little tubulars, but here they wrap the branches that have fallen. Here as I get farther from the road, I wonder what's being protected. Maybe the purpose of those is just to stop high-speed erosion. Here it looks like a game trail. But what kind of game? There are evidence of either buffalo or cows up here, but not much. Now it looks greener down in there, so let's go look and see if it is, or that's just an illusion of the landscape. This may give us a clue. Notice how some of those rocks, are quite a number of them, are tumbled downstream, if you will, off of what was originally a pretty cleanly designed or built check dam. And notice that that's a fairly wide swale coming down through there, which would suggest that a great volume of water might occasionally come down through there. It would take a great deal of water to dump some of those rocks that you're looking at and tumble them down a few feet. I wonder if green life just springs up out of the ground like magic when the rains come, and that the goal is to keep this land from getting torn up anymore. Something once was here for a while. You can see some work's been done here with machines, and this is a road. So this is a simple but nicely built road. Looks like it gets a fair amount of use. So I'm going to cross over it, keep moving away from the main highway road. So this looks like it was some kind of structure here, and maybe what they've done by tearing up the ground here is try to erase as much of the impact of that place as they can. And people with a baby carriage. Good thing I got out in the wilderness, isn't it? Something else to intrigue and mystify are these trenches. They look to be about 10 feet long and about a foot and a half wide. Offset spacing a bit. My first guess is archaeological testing, if you will, or probing. And it looks like it continues all up across here. So all the way from over there somewhere, and in a swath right along here, not too far away from where we can see here, and then continuing, it looks like, all the way over there somewhere is this pattern. And since we're at a fairly high point, and a fairly large high point, this would not have been an illogical place, perhaps, for a community to have existed. Assuming this is archaeological, notice that the archaeologists stopped with that section and have continued the overall section in a more limited form this way. I'm standing on this little knoll here because there's so many rocks. I was hoping I could see some evidence of their organization, but I don't. Downhill, a deeper hole over there. This is interesting. Looks like termite mound, not like we've seen elsewhere where it's one big single mound, but an overall mound composed over a bunch of these newer mounds successively created and fallen in on themselves, creating those bigger holes. Is it possible that what we're looking at on these trees is related to this? That it's a termite function? As I pan around, here's a ledge of rock, and it extends all around, and I'm on generally flat, not really, but kinda. Is it possible a community lived in this area and that the hierarchy lived on these little bit higher areas? It's always the case. And that the rest of the population lived down below? Or was there too much danger from floods for anybody to live down there? I thought this was an excavated hole, and it might have been, because I don't know how something that big could get dug out. But it looks like this whole thing may be the long-term result of whatever built that mound there and the one down there and has created those holes. Could it be some mouse-like critter? A few bigger trees. But what a strange landscape. In many places in the world, a setting like this, and there's this flat area here, and then a pinnacle of rock, particularly large chunks of rock, would be a focal point for some kind of past human contact. In the Southwest, such a singular place would have had a likelihood of some kind of pictograph, of petroglyphs on it. But I see nothing. This flat area just seems too much so not to have had human contact, but I am just fantasizing perhaps. A place like this, you look for stones that are in some kind of human alignment, like straight line, but there's nothing here. My fantasies are for naught. This is apparently a fairly extensive refuge. I don't have the energy to go pursuing whatever's off that way, so I'll continue to bushwhack back in roughly this direction until I hit the road and then hang a left and go up to the gate I came in on. These two curved trenches, actually there's four of them actually, are right on what looks like it's a knoll and a peninsula with that creek bed there, a little bit of a gorge, and then over on this side, same thing. So we'll walk to the end of this. Ideal place for a community, right where there's water? I think so. And a few more trenches going downhill. Look at the size of these, and look at how that one there is tumbled down on the right side. I wonder if this is an exciting place to be during the monsoon rains, when the waters come flying down through here. Count 8 check dams starting there, working my way back up, and notice how they're damaged. A few different kinds of trees, and the trees that are here that we've seen in this forest much greener, suggesting that there's still some water down in here, or that their roots were able to grow much, much deeper. Maybe the goal is simply to slow down the water, make it seep in. Not hard to tell where the rocks for these check dams came from. You can see a little bit of space between this dirt crustacean and the tree underneath. But is that a product of a wet mud drying away from the tree? Or is it the passage for the termites or critters to move, like up through here? Here, a stub of a tree growing new shoots, if you will. This was certainly a massive project. I would assume there are a couple of hundred of these check dams around this property that I have seen. Looking right here, you can see how the water can chew up the landscape pretty fast. Assuming this dam was well built, you can see there's some really big stones that have been very much dislodged from that configuration. Once again, nature has foiled man. The water undercut those big pile of rocks, tumbling them down. Ironically, perhaps creating an even better check dam. This expanse of white rock intrigued me. I think it's just reflection. This monkey scored a small cauliflower head, and now he has to control it. So the others who are anxiously awaiting a shot at it perhaps get more aggressive. How this monkey got it away from the horde, including the males over on the road, I don't know. But this is what's called the supreme lookout.